Well, I hope you're having a glorious day this day. We have been looking at John chapter 17, and I'd like to take another look at John 17 for today. Today we want to look at throwing his weight around, and that'll be in John chapter 17, verse 1, verse 4 and 5, and verse 22. One cannot truly study John 17 without first addressing the subject of glory. The word glory and its variations is used 8 different times in Jesus' prayer. 5 times in the first section where Jesus prays for himself. This word glory can be rather confusing. Jesus said, "Glorify your Son," in verse 2. "I have glorified you on earth," in verse 4. "I have been glorified in them," in verse 10. "And they will see my glory," in verse 24. Sometimes the word is used as a noun, and sometimes it's used as a verb. But what does it all mean? Well, the basic meaning of the Hebrew word kabod, translated glory, is heavy in weight. The noun glory means the weighty importance and shining majesty which accompany God's presence. The verb glorified means to give weight to or to give honor to. To give glory is to praise, is to recognize the importance of another. The Greek word is doxa, which we get the common word doxology. As it relates to God, it means to recognize the essential nature of his godness that gives him importance and weight in relationships to us as humans. When we glorify someone, we display their dignity. We display their worth, their importance, their fame, and sometimes the word glory, as in verse 24, refers even to heaven itself. Jesus prays that he would give glory to the Father in verse 1. Simply stated, Jesus lived to glorify his Father. He lived that God would be famous, that people would recognize the importance of his Father. Did you happen to notice in the definition of glory the word weight? We often say of people who think that they are important that they are throwing their weight around. If anyone could have thrown their weight around, it certainly would have been Jesus. But instead, he sought to show the importance of God. He wanted people to understand and to recognize the weighty importance of God in their own lives. He lived his life so that God would be glorified, as we read in verse 4. A question for you. Do we pray and live so that people see the importance, the weight of God? Well, the sole purpose of our lives is to live in such a way that God is made to be the most important thing in our lives. We answer Jesus' prayer by extending the influence of God in this world, in our community, in the people that we come in contact with on a day-to-day basis. Jesus prays that he might receive glory, as we read in verse 5. This is not a self-serving request. He's simply asking to receive back what he has to begin with. Remember, Jesus gave up his rights as God, and he became human. As a matter of fact, he became a slave, and then he died on the cross. Take a look at Philippians chapter 2, verses 6 through 8. Jesus laid aside his pre-incarnate glory with the Father when he came to earth to be born, when he came to earth to serve, when he came to earth to suffer, and when he came to earth to die. Since his work on earth is now finished, he is asking that his pre-incarnate glory be given to him once again. The reason is that the Son might glorify now the Father in heaven. Imagine, if you would, as difficult as it is, what Jesus actually did. What he did for you and for me. He left heaven in all of its glory. He became a human to die for the people that he himself created. If you or I became an ant, a little old ant, and we wanted to save an anthill, that would not even come close enough to the compassion that Jesus had when he went and died on that cross for us. If anyone could bask in the glory for what they have done in this world, it could certainly be, and it should be, Jesus Christ, the Son of God. But Jesus chooses not to bask in his glory, but rather to reflect that glory back to God. John chapter 17 is full of all kinds of wonderful little treasures. I'm so glad that you took the time today to take a look at just a sample of all the things that Jesus Christ did for you and for me. Have a glorious day today.